When they see me, the only person believe that you a killer is your making decent. If I see my ops behind the cuffs, then I'ma spit. Wanna kill the world about you, cause you know, thinking about that I'ma blow while I piss. You ain't heard my music while you balling up your fist. Re-rap on the chop, it go. When it hit, he ain't slaughter gang, then he ain't official. When they check the scene, you really think that they gon' miss you. I spent $500,000 on dismissals. It's the way.
Good evening, fans, and welcome to Schellenberger Field for today's Code Red men's soccer match, featuring the visiting Mary Washington Eagles and your Lynchburg Hornets. Today's Code Red match is filled with excitement, including a costume race and a raffle giveaway that will be presented at halftime, and other fun festivities that complement the high-level action on the pitch. Also, find the hot dog girl located on the end of the track for some delicious eats during today's game, and the Hornet shop located in the parking lot next to Hopwood Hall. The University of Lynchburg, the NCAA, and the ODAC ask that you support our shared goal of promoting a positive, respectful sporting environment. We request your help in establishing an atmosphere that is free from the use of profanity, vulgarity, racial or sexist comments, personal insults, and other intimidating actions directed at Such actions will not be tolerated and may result in removal from the site of competition. Creating a positive environment and an enjoyable experience for all starts with you.
Hello and welcome into the Hill City. It's a midweek non-con affair for the Lynchburg Hornets as they play host to the Mary Washington Eagles in a Code Red affair here in Lynchburg, Virginia. Joe Brennan alongside Evan Gates. Evan, two extremely talented squads. A year ago, you had Mary Washington that was number one in the polls, ultimately fell in the Sweet 16, a Lynchburg team that made it to the round of 32. And these are two squads that look a heck of a lot different than they did a season ago.
You can't overstate it, and you know that these two teams want to have similar success. We talked to the Lynchburg coaching staff earlier in the week, and they recognize they want to play opponents that are similar to the ODAC tournament. How can you get that competition early in the year? The best way to do it, playing teams who have been there and done that. This Mary Washington team, despite being different, is still very hungry.
Well, for Lynchburg, it's been a freshman that's really come on scene early. Carlos Andres Romero coming off a hat trick against Regent. He was one of two Lynchburg forwards alongside Chris Bovo that slotted 3 through.
Well, when you looked at his performance, Romero started the party and Bovo finished it. 2 hat tricks, both very respectable. But when you see his one-on-one play on the attack, on the outside, it's almost very veteran-like. And he is just a sophomore, his first hat trick for Lynchburg, and continuing to keep the goals rolling.
A sophomore of first year coming out of the Honduras who's really been an excellent addition for this Lynchburg squad. We'll talk about a whole host of new faces here today for the Hornets and a whole lot of new faces on the other side as well for the Eagles. But one guy that has remained constant is number 2 in blue. Their main guy, Sammy Amorose, returns as one of the 5 guys from a season ago that was an all-region performer. They lost 4 other all-region guys. They lost 3 All-Americans, 13 names from the 2024 roster not returning for the Eagles. So they're looking for production in a whole lot of different places, but Sammy has been one big constant for him.
Well, Joe, you think he feels the pressure because he has 4 goals and 3 assists. He leads the team in both categories, but he is going to have to be relentless this year if this team wants to have similar attacking numbers. He started every game he's been featured in since sophomore year, so it's about consistency and making sure that attack is functioning early in the year.
Mary Washington comes in at 3-3. The Hornets come into this affair 3-0-2. Their first time without suffering a defeat through their first 5 games since 2014. And those two guys are a big reason that when you look at these two teams on paper, statistically, they've done a really good job just to start. For some reason, just the Mary Washington result hasn't necessarily been where they'd like it to be based on difficult opponents.
Well, looking under the microscope, it goes back to the last two games, losses against Hampton, Sydney, and Washington. You recognize that these are tough opponents, like you said. They're not exactly cookie games to start the year, and you recognize as well that these are a lot of ODAC opponents. This team didn't play a single ODAC team last year. They're going to have several on the slate this year, and so Lynchburg recognizes, yes, similar teams and similar names, but throw that out the window against a non-conference opponent today.
And what's so great is this is a really great matchup between two veteran coaches. You really can't talk enough about the success that we've seen from each side thus far.
Absolutely. Jason Kilby, someone, like we've said, has reached the national semifinals back in 2022, someone who recognizes he needs success from this team. And then, of course, Chris Yeager, 12 straight winning seasons, continuing to produce All-Americans and get back to that national tournament. They got a win last year. They're trying to go even further in 2025.
Yeah, you've got Kilby, who's a guy that's led his squad to the Sweet 16 3 years in a row, 3 consecutive conference championships, and a guy like Yeager that's won 9 ODAC titles in his 22 seasons at the helm for the Hornets. Should be a fun one on deck. We'll step aside momentarily for the playing of the national anthem, and we'll return with tonight's starting lineup. Stick with us on Flow College. And we welcome you back into Lynchburg, Virginia, on Schellenberger Field. It's the Hornets and the Eagles in a midweek matchup. Lynchburg will walk you through the Hornets starting lineups to begin today's affair. Between the pipes, the veteran goalkeeper Thomas Viscuso, joined alongside a veteran backline with Torres, Casey, Velasquez, Rouse, and Napier. Viscuso in that midline with Wiley, Pask, Daniel, and Andres Romero leading the charge up front. I mean, this is a Lynchburg team that, you know, with a lot of uncertainty coming into the year on the offensive end, with so many guys like Pat Figueroa and Monzi Shalita and Zach Whelan departing, you return that entire back line. You've got to feel comfortable and confident with that group.
And it's been an anchor at the back, but up front, 10 different players tallied a point to start the year. So it's been a committee effort on offense. They look to keep it going today.
Meanwhile, for the Eagles, if you go back to last year's Sweet 16 game, only one returning starter in this year's starting 11. Kickbush starts in the pipes for the Eagles today, as he has all season. A guy that's coming back from injury a year ago, with Elliott Berg, Bonarvaria in the back line with Machik and Hoskins, Woolard, Struman, Landreth, Rodriguez, Valoya, and the man that we highlighted in the open in Amorose.
Absolutely. It's someone that you see at the top of this offense as a spark plug, as a senior from Jacksonville, North Carolina. And Amorose has to go out ready to fire. But like you said, Tristan Kickbush has experience between the pipes. Injury cut that year short, but you feel like being with so many other experienced veterans from the last few years, a lot of these guys were just sponges in the last few years going through that NCAA tournament. And you hope that if you are a Mary Washington fan, they are ready to go and have a similar trajectory this season.
These two squads are familiar foes with one another, but they're coming into a hostile environment tonight on Schellenberger Field. The first Code Red contest of the 2025 school year. And just anticipate there to be a whole lot of noise tonight, Evan.
Well, the fans were there about 20 minutes before this game started, and when you see that for a Code Red game, you feel like you are really excited for the fireworks to come. Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday evening, you feel like it's a special environment, and everybody getting back for the first time together should be a lot of fun.
Since 2017, these two squads have matched up 6 times. And it's been a real series that has been controlled by Mary Washington as of late. However, the last 2 affairs between the Eagles and the Hornets have resulted in 2-2 ties. Mary Washington got the best of Lynchburg, and most recently in 2021. We're all set and squared away. Daniel will get things started at the center circle. This is a Mary Washington team that has really got things going offensively early through their first couple of games this season, Evan.
We've talked about some of the highlighters and key contributors. Well, Amaros has a pair of goals in the first 3 minutes of games. You feel like if you're this Lynchburg defense, you got to know it's ready. This offense wants to score early, and can you just control the possession of the midfield? That's going to be a big test.
And now, Evan, if you're Lynchburg and Coach Yeager, you really got 2 options. Do you want to really put some pressure on the offense and try and counter that attack, or do you sit back and wait for a little bit until you find the right moment to strike?
Well, 2 of the best words in sports, read and react. You got to make sure that these first few minutes are going your way before you get too cheeky on the attack, because both defenses are still very stout.
And it's a Lynchburg team that we've seen change their formation quite frequently, whether they want to have 4 guys on that front line or 5 or vice versa on the back line as well with 3 or 4. But they've started to feel a whole lot more comfortable with pushing guys forward, whether that's Casey or Velasquez, just seeing how strong they can be in isolation situations.
And, Joe, I think that's a product of experience, because we already see Casey getting in the goal tally early in the year. We know Benji Velasquez will go in for throws in the attacking third. So how versatile can they be? I mean, that's what makes NCAA tournament teams, when you can plug the gears in any different way.
And not only just the experience from a year ago, as Lynchburg got in front, Wiley's going to center a feed, scooped up by Kickbush. And the grad student out of Arlington, Virginia, sniffs that one out. You've got a Lynchburg squad that not only built experience from a year ago in the 2024 season, but also over the summer.
For sure, and these guys have played together, especially with Lynchburg FC, as you just mentioned. I mean, that's powerful, because a lot of teams, you go away for the summer, and yes, you get better, but it's all individually. When you have a group like this that wants to be together and spend the summer away, that's just a cultural thing that's so special here in the Hill City.
You had Napier, Velasquez, Viscuso, Rouse, and a little bit of Casey in that mix as well. We talked about this back line that has so much experience playing with each other. Got even more of that playing with LFC, which is a relationship that really started with assistant coach Josh Hinkle.
And it's special, too, because you mentioned the defense, and you want some familiarity, but other names like Matthew Viscuso are siblings, are friends of other players on the team, and that culture is already continuing to stay as one string. You want everybody bought in together.
And when we got the chance to talk to Yeager before the game, he said, we're so used to calling him Lil Viscuso, but he's not so little anymore. Already notched 1 goal through his first couple of collegiate contests. He's really started to make his mark, and, that experience playing in the backyard with an all-conference keeper has got to be pretty beneficial for you.
Definitely makes you tougher as a younger sibling, and for that goal to be a game winner and a game as close as it was against St. Mary's, you just feel like there's no pressure for a lot of these attackers. Yes, they're doing it by committee, but they understand their teammates have their backs.
There's a long ball downfield, looking for Fisher Daniel. And the Eagles will clear it in the other direction. This is a Lynchburg squad that's been pretty banged up to start this season. They had 8 guys injured a week ago. That number's gotten down to 4, 2 of which most likely could be long-term injuries, with guys like Aiden Cass and Audie Shaver, who really anticipated to have a big role this season.
For sure, and that's where everyone else has to step up, especially when your field players were down into the teens a few weeks ago. How can you sustain the excellence that you put on against Regent in a 9-0 victory? You want a lot of attackers involved. We also want them healthy.
We've also seen Fisher Daniel in the early stages through 4 minutes already. He's had a handful of touches, and it seems like he's got a good chemistry going with guys like Paskin Wiley especially.
For sure, a lot of these older guys that have played together for so long. Yes, we talk about the Whelans and Shalitas, but this second group, who are now seniors, have also been together for a long time, and they've seen that NCAA tournament several years in a row.
And Pask is someone who, suffered a tough injury 2 years ago, was on the sideline, and was still a really vocal guy, was still involved with the team, kind of took on somewhat of, a volunteer assistant where he's got a good eye for the game, and his coaching staff has referred to him as someone that could be a coach down the line. But last year, seeing him come back and really emerge as one of the key offensive figures towards the middle part of that season was crucial for Lynchburg, especially as Shalita kind of had a slow start to the campaign.
Absolutely, and you got to find that spark plug to go forward and make things happen. Especially considering the fact when we talked to the coaching staff, they said it was even some of the All-Americans getting advice from guys like that. It doesn't matter if you're the youngster in the group, if you can go in and contribute in any way you can.
Yeah, he actually mentioned it was pass giving pointers to Luke Mega, an All-American at the Lynchburg Hornets squad who really made a big impact on that team, and he was not hesitant to go out there and share his thoughts, and a guy that sees the game really well. Nevertheless, we should have a really fun one on deck today as Velasquez plays it back to Viscuso. Sky-high ball towards midfield.
And for Lynchburg, coming out of a match against Regent where you dominated possession and it wasn't really close in that stats category, you got to make sure you're not complacent on that back line. This coaching staff is constantly critiquing, trying to get those little things settled, because if you're going from a very offensive performance to more of a 50-50 in the midfield type of game, it can be very easy to lose sight of it.
Without a doubt. And you face a Mary Washington team that, hungry feels like an understatement when they're coming in and looking for a win after dropping 2 consecutive contests, one of which to a Hampton-Sydney team that looks like could really cause some trouble in the ODAC.
And they have a lot of the stats leaders so far. It is early in the year, so some of those numbers will be a little unequal to others, but you recognize they're putting on good performances. WNL always right there in the cards, and even Roanoke, a team that could emerge this year, got a game-winning goal in the final minute yesterday against William Peace.
And WNL has gotten off to a slow start, to say the least, winless through their first 5 games. That's something they experienced a year ago, where they started a little bit slow out of the gates and ended up making a charge to the Final Four in an ODAC championship.
You hear about it a lot in other sports, too. It's about when you peak, right? You hear baseball season being 5 or 6 months. You want to make sure you're playing your best at the end. I don't think that they're concerned, but they are going to have to win some games in conference.
Right now, that's the best win on Mary Washington's docket thus far through their first 6 games. Is a header inside. Keaton Napier strikes first, and the Lynchburg Hornets jump out in front.
Well, tuck and roll, sometimes it pays to be physical early in these games, and Lynchburg, who has used set pieces in corners to their advantage in the past, just puts one right in the breadbasket for a beautiful header. The connection puts the Hornets in front early.
Keaton Napier with his first goal of the season, and it feels like a big one. A Mary Washington team that has really got their offense started early now finds themselves trailing through the first 7.5 minutes.
And doesn't it go along with the theme of new contributors? We've mentioned it's been a committee effort. Napier picks up his first goal of the year, already had an assist, but has started every match so far with the Hornets, and you're seeing that consistency pay off.
Napier just 4 games played last season, 3 games started. Only tapped 1 shot in 2024. The seniors now started in all 6 games for the Hornets this year. Long ball from Viscuso downfield.
And the beauty of Lynchburg scoring early as opposed to their opponents is that when you have a defense that's one of the best in the nation, all of a sudden other teams might start pressing a little bit and you find other holes that might not have been available earlier in the game.
Good job from Pass to keep it in play. Now pushes it forward. Lynchburg takes control. Long ball is trying to hook up with Carlos. Andres Romero just didn't have the beat. That's a tough play to make.
Well, that's a tough play to make on the touchline for Pask as well.
Yep.
You mentioned it. I mean, those are the plays that ultimately push you into the postseason. When you have the hustle, you don't give up on those opportunities. And you can hear the Lynchburg fans on the other side. You've got an entire squad behind you on this Wednesday night.
And you can throw the record books out the window. You can throw everything you've seen just because it's so early. This feels like an NCAA tournament kind of match.
Sure does. And you recognize that's exactly what this coaching staff wants. Mary Washington, a team that's been tested, because you see a lot of teams that are playing well early in the year, but they haven't been to the postseason. They don't know what it's like to go and have to survive in advance. And Mary Washington, a team that's gone through the rounds and done it.
And you're exactly right. They have so many guys that have been through that and they've had to do it, but not necessarily as the key guys. Like a lot of these players that we've got have been contributors for the last couple of seasons for Mary Washington, but they haven't necessarily had to take the big shot. They haven't necessarily had to step up in the final moments. And we talked about in the open, I mean, just one returning starter from their Sweet 16 game in the NCAA tournament last year.
Well, let's reverse the angle. We've talked about how Lynchburg benefits from a matchup like this. How about Mary Washington getting another tough opponent as Daniel hits the turf? Hornets thought they had a call, but, I mean, these are the opportunities where if you're a team in the coast-to-coast conference that doesn't necessarily have a huge representation, you got to go out and win these games.
And you basically get to hand-pick your schedule with so little conference games on the docket. You can go out there and say, I want to play the Lynchburgs, I want to play the W&Ls, the Hampton Sydneys, the Roanoks, and build up that strength of schedule.
There's no harm in going after these tougher teams. You want to win them, but obviously experience plays as well. And with a group that's younger, all of a sudden the mission isn't just this year. You have a lot of time to improve.
Wiley hesitates, has it poked away, thought about pulling the trigger just outside the 18. Now here come the Eagles along the far sideline. Tangled up, ball gets jarred free.
And, Joe, doesn't it feel like every 50-50 tackle has gone Lynchburg's way? They have been so crafty in the midfield and making sure the Eagles don't have a good stab at the goal, and just keeping those shots off frame is a really good start to the game if you want to throw off your opponent's momentum.
They're bringing the intensity right now. You can feel it on and off the field. I mean, you look at the far side of the track, it's a sea of red right now, and that certainly has got to play into it a little bit.
Especially early in the year, like we said, you don't get a lot of those big games until the latter portion in conference play. You wonder, too, if Mary Washington knew it as it was advertised. You hear Code Red here at Lynchburg. The campus starts to get festive. Well, for opponents, sometimes you walk into a new environment and all of a sudden it's a little more festive than you anticipated.
And I think coaches tend to have two different approaches to it. Whether it's, this is just any other game, block out the noise. And then you got the other perspective of coaches playing crowd noise on the speakers during practice, just trying to get you accustomed to it.
Doing anything you can, and you love it because both sides, it feels like coaches are very passionate about it, one way or another. There's no in between. And so for Coach Yeager's squad, they've seen moments like this here at Schellenberger Field, getting to host in the NCAA tournament. You just want to show the freshmen and the newcomers, this is what it's all about. Let's make it happen in November.
Napier looking for Daniel as it poked away. Now going through traffic is Leonard. More physical play. Torres with a nice tackle. Up for pass, trying to get the edge down the near sideline. Cut off by Machek. This time he got him. Now he's got a beat. Out in front. Crossed over for Wiley. Andres Romero on the far side, intercepted.
And this is where having those defenders is so crucial, because when Lynchburg bends out of their formation, you have someone like Benji Velasquez or Will Casey there to intercept those passes and at least stall the effort on offense. If the Hornets can get off and running, you feel like they're going to have a lot of opportunities.
Casey through the middle. Looking to find some real estate for Fisher Daniel. Rolls out of play. It'll be a toss in on the near sideline. Looking to go up for Elliott Berg. Berg's someone that'll look to have a much bigger impact on this Eagles squad than he has in the past. He's been a formidable contributor off the sideline the last couple of seasons, and the younger brother of a guy that was an absolute stud during 4 seasons with Mary Washington.
Well, his brother Carter led the team with 14 goals and 37 points last season. And so all of a sudden you want to create a narrative on your own. You just feel like, as we've said, being around the program, you know what it takes to have success, but it is definitely a different wrinkle when you got to go do it yourself.
Ping-ponged around in the middle of the field. Casey will slow the tempo.
You think about this situation for Mary Washington. They've had 1 clean sheet this year, and that was versus Region, a game which they dominated. And so I don't think they're going to feel pressured to go out down a goal, but you definitely recognize Lynchburg wants another. They want to try and creep away early.
Here comes Rouse along the near sideline. Now carving his way inside. Rouse lets it go just too high. Now you can see this back line. They're not afraid to push it up.
You could call that a heat check, but I think Reed Rouse recognizes he can make that shot, and it wasn't too far-fetched to try and go up near the crossbar. I like that aggression because now as a goalkeeper, your eyes have to turn in every direction.
A nice try there from Rouse. Nevertheless, we stay at a 1-0 affair through the first 15 minutes. A sprint to the near sideline. It's Rouse and Landreth. Landreth, another one of those younger guys in his sophomore season. Good passing from Lynchburg to create some open space. Andres Romero now with a man on his back. Played opposite side, Torres. Keeps it in play. The cross. Finds its way to Wiley. Wiley gets some breathing room. Lost his footing.
You still like this attack from Lynchburg because they're ultimately beating themselves. You haven't seen this defense come up with a clutch stop yet. And if the Hornets keep applying pressure in this attacking third, you got to feel like the more that the defense bends, eventually they're going to break again.
Trying to see how malleable they could be. Daniel. Another good pickup from Kickbush. Kickbush, a guy that has stepped in and really not missed a beat after having an All-American keeper. Those are big shoes to fill. He has done quite a fabulous job in his senior season, getting the nod for the Eagles this year.
When much like a goalkeeper, let's look at the entire field. Right now there's been so much consistency in the lineup, no substitutions yet.
Torres gets it out of trouble. Tracked down by Andres Romero, applying pressure. Nice tackle from Torres to prevent an opportunity. Amorose, double team comes, swiped away from Pask. Pass now recognizes he doesn't have numbers. Finds a red jersey in Rouse. Nice ball for Viscuso. That one's kicked away from Landreth. Amorose lays it out in front from a check. Nice slide from Casey. For a sophomore, he plays like a grad student.
He sure does, and that was evident last year in those big moments. It feels like he is just so disciplined, knowing when to go, and especially with Benji Velasquez as your partner on the other side of this defense, you've got two centerpieces that have really performed well, and that builds a lot of confidence for this coaching staff.
Velasquez and Casey were both all-conference selections. Velasquez, for the second season in a row, took home the Defensive Player of the Year. Casey awarded the Rookie of the Year. Those two trying to build off of one of, if not the best, team defense performances in a single season a year ago. Anytime you got a squad that's posting double-digit shutouts, that's going to pop some eyes open.
Well, third most in program history, too. You know there have been a lot of good Lynchburg defenses here in history on Schellenberger Field. So you recognize if it's supposed to be better this year, I don't know what that number looks like, because it's tough to go out and match that shutout number with good opponents. But the way they have played so far early in the year, you feel like it's possible.
And it was early in the year last year. We kept talking about how phenomenal that defense looked, and it felt like every game, if you can just get one, you're coming away with the victory. But it was a slow start offensively for Lynchburg last year. And then you get to October, and it was like Monzi Shalita played like a man possessed. And that Lynchburg team just rolled and rolled and rolled until the first time since it was the EMU game in early October where they didn't score a goal in that second round against Dickinson.
There's a reason Shalita's playing pro ball now as well, because he was such a strong piece to that offense. But this team didn't lose a game from September 29th to November 16th. That was 11 games, and that's during the toughest part of the schedule. So you recognize if you can do it again and have that offense earlier in the year, that NCAA tournament's going to be a lot of fun.
And pardon me, I misspoke. It was the ODAC championship game until they found a scoreless affair against a really talented W&L squad. Oh, what a dangerous header. Elliott Berg almost had a cross-cage delivery. That would have tied this game up at singles.
Well, trying to climb the ladder and thread it through, and unfortunately for the Eagles fans, the wait's going to have to continue. But watch how this ball is placed. I mean, that's aggressive to go forward and stay on sides, but it all works so well. That just comes down to placement. This defense has to be really careful in some of those one-chance opportunities.
Long ball from Viscuso. Popped around. Still in the air. Wiley controls. Out in front for Andres Romero. Matched up tightly with Hoskins. Pumps the brake, double team comes, head towards the end line. And a nice job from Hoskins to knock it away.
Well, for Romero, doesn't it feel like those are the chances that he accelerates in? When it's one-on-one, out wide, you allow your speed to show up, and Lynchburg in the box has to be aware of that as well. How many bodies can we pack inside the 18?
A really creative offensive player. Very dynamic, great in those one-on-one situations. A guy that has a really similar play style to Chris Bovo. He's really known for his isolation scoring.
And how about Bovo? The way he played against Regent. You look at last season and he didn't have a goal. That wasn't necessarily to say it was an unsuccessful season, but just trying to find the net again. You get 3 goals in the same match. Talk about confidence.
And the last time these two teams played, back 2 years ago, Bovo knotted a goal in that contest. Amorose also was able to score in that affair. 2 young players that made an impact in that inevitable 2-2 tie. Feels like the intensity slowly starting to simmer, and everybody's getting situated in this affair thus far, Evan.
Well, that's why the Eagles have been successful offensively early in games as well. If you can catch your opponents napping, or maybe just the formation being a little different than what other teams have seen. But Lynchburg now is very comfortable slowing this game down. They recognize what they bring to the table in that back line. And like we said earlier, if that window opens in the front, you got to be ready to fire.
Lynchburg looking to reverse the field. Near side for Casey. I'll spin it back around once again. Over for Velasquez. Cuts through the middle. Now heads to this sideline for Torres. Torres wants to go. On his horse. Across the field. Looking for Pask. Tipped away by Machek. Pask lost the handle. Scooped away by Landreth. Napier to the interior. Daniel over for Napier. Andres Romero looking to get involved. Kicked away, but Velasquez from the back line cleans it up. Lynchburg maintains possession. Over halfway through the opening 45. Nice ball for Viscuso. There's some more physical play. This time it gets a whistle. Goes against Mason Landreth, a sophomore midfielder out of Bel Air, Maryland. It'll be a set piece from about 35-40 out.
When you get your first goal of the game on a corner kick, you feel like set pieces have been very friendly to you historically in the last year or so. And if you're Lynchburg here, you want to be sneaky, but also not giving too much away early in the match if you need it later.
Rouse curling to the left. Snatched out of the air from Kickbush. You had a streaking Casey flying in, looking for another header opportunity for the Hornets. A double team comes. Lynchburg swipes it away. Oh my goodness. Here comes the freight train.
Head-on-head collision, middle of the field, and that's what you want to see from both teams, that aggression, but it also has to be controlled because, yeah, you want to keep everybody healthy, but also on the defensive side, you don't want to leave any extra pockets.
On the near sideline. Rouse takes a hard fall. He hit the deck hard.
Couldn't tell if Machek's head got in on that because Rouse, he was really at the height of his ascent as he came down.
This is a very deep Lynchburg back line, but Rouse is not someone that you want to see head to the sideline if you're Yeager and company. He is the definition of a glue guy, someone that does all the right things for his squad, constantly making hustle plays. Doesn't necessarily rack up the same stats that you see from a Casey or a Velasquez, but a real vocal veteran leader. And he's back up on his feet having a conversation with the training staff.
Well, probably will have to be out of the game at least for a little bit of time, and that sometimes goes down to the referee's decision. But like you said, you talk about the glue guy. It's that speed on the side that has really helped him earn that starting role and then some. You saw the attack earlier as well, just getting a shot off and scaring that defense a little bit. It's been something that Rouse has done so well throughout his Hornets career.
If you're Lynchburg, you hope he just got the wind knocked out of him. Well, good to see him able to trot off the field on his own will. With that, Eric Vasquez, the freshman, will check in his place. Someone that his coaching staff described as, he forces us to play him. He just does all the right things, applies so much pressure. He's great one-on-one. He's great bringing double teams. You got to feel good about the depth that you do have in his back line.
And one of the biggest issues at this time of the year can sometimes be, okay, a player is so versatile, where do you put them on the field? Because there aren't always positions open, but you can craft a little bit and change where players are occupying. You feel like Vasquez is a guy who's going to be here for a long time and have a nice tenure.
Mary Washington looking to change the field. Whistle blows it dead, and the Eagles will march forward.
This will become more crucial in the second half if Lynchburg holds on to this lead, but you don't want Mary Washington to be able to slow things down because so far it feels like the Hornets have capitalized from transition a little bit more than Mary Washington.
And obviously we don't want to speculate at all, but we've got a pretty good shot of Rouse talking with the training staff right now, and it looks like they're checking out his teeth.
You know what was tough with how that play went down is it almost looked like his head had been turned, and you wonder if, at the last second before he had made that maneuver, if he got a little bit of the front. And, we can sit up here and talk about it and try to speculate, but just feeling rattled or a little out of place this early in a game after you've already used a little bit of energy, that can be tough to adjust to.
Isaac Cruz, another freshman for the Hornets, checks into this affair. Midfielder out of Harrisburg, Virginia. For the Eagles, Micah Davis, a freshman out of Durham, North Carolina, enters the contest.
Well, Micah Davis is a name that's somewhat familiar here on campus, the brother of Elijah Davis and the son of Hubert, who's the coach at UNC.
He's got to be pretty good at hoops, right?
That's right. I mean, just a good athlete in general, you would imagine.
Just like you and me.
That's right. We'll pretend for a few minutes. See, but the thing is, Joe, I didn't get to see you play back during your prime college days at Indiana.
Come on, man. I'm still in my prime.
That's right. Got until 40, 45, and we'll call it a day.
LeBron can do it. I can do it.
That's right.
Play downfield. Torres, another big collision. This one called against the Eagles. Gets a round of applause from the Red Wave.
You really wonder how many words get exchanged this early in a match for Code Red Night because a lot of students are there. It's a rowdy environment. And as this game goes on, if it's still a one-goal affair, Mary Washington's going to have a tough time trying to get that goal in the final 20 or so minutes because it just gets tougher.
Viscuso lets it fly. Right on the far edge of that box. Napier gets his foot on it. Now hits the turbo boosters. Maybe a little too much speed right there. Lost control. Out of bounds on the end line. It'll be a goal kick for Kickbush.
Joe, it definitely feels like Lynchburg has gotten to that goal line more often than not today because those runs are starting from the outside, and this Mary Washington defense is trying to keep them there. You don't want any extra crosses that are lingering in the box, but if the Hornets can convert on another one like that corner kick, they might be in business.
A battle for the loose ball won by Velasquez and the Hornets. That's going to be such a fun matchup to watch all night long. Amorose and Velasquez. You just know that Benji's going to be all over him like white on rice.
Well, you wonder, is he man-marking for the majority of this game? And that means that one-on-one defense, because sometimes when you have several attackers, you got to make sure you're paying respect to the committee. But for Velasquez, I think that's his prime candidate of saying, okay, let's lock down the front of the attack and force someone else to go get that goal.
I think especially once Lynchburg starts to creep those backs forward and you see guys like Casey make their way downfield, you're going to start to see Velasquez match up man-on-man with him a little bit more. But as you said, it situationally, you don't have a bad guy to match up with Amorose if you're Lynchburg, just with how much strength you have. And that's the heartbeat of your team.
For sure.
You have so much confidence, whether it's Torres or Casey or Rouse if he makes his way back in here. But he's definitely 1A.
Absolutely, and Velasquez is a nice example because he combines that strength and the speed, and not a lot of defenders have both at their disposal. So if you're Lynchburg and you need somebody to go and haul back, that's the guy you want, and allow everyone else to get involved up front because, eventually if someone is so shut down early in the match, it can be tough to get that confidence back later.
Wiley with his second foul of the day. He's someone that led this squad in cards a season ago. Plays a very physical brand of ball. Not afraid to get dirty on that front line.
And as an attacker, I don't think you mind it because that means you're getting aggressive, trying to go after the frame.
Davis trying to create some space as it kicked away from Pask. It'll lead to the first corner kick of the day for Mary Washington.
And Joe, their opportunities have been so quickly developing. Lynchburg has likely earned the lion's share of possession in the middle of the field. But Mary Washington, when they get those chances, they're going down in a hurry.
To the far post, Velasquez gets a glove on it. Andres Romero trying to keep possession, gets shoved to the deck. But he'll pop up smiling, high-fiving some teammates as Lynchburg earns possession right back.
That's exactly what you want. This defense has to be good for just long enough, and then let's go ahead and get that clearance, get out of the way. And this back line, we talk about them being nationally recognized, one of the top in shutouts last year. Well, that's where it starts, just limiting opportunities, period. And this Lynchburg team, early in the year, is only allowing their opponents 5.4 shots per game, and that's through a 5-match sample size.
Quick passing on the far side of the field. Streaking towards the center. Ball gets jarred free. Kick push with a sliding recovery to reel it in. Lays it out beautifully in front, but Velasquez read it all the way. Or Vasquez, pardon me. Vasquez and Velasquez together on that back line is certainly a pair of names.
Then you got Viscuso and goal. You know what? Like, I don't know if some teams even have one V last name.
Bovo enters the affair for the Hornets. Alongside for the Eagles, it's Joseph Cruz. Lynchburg also brings in Colby Wilson for the first time today. And you've got Tio Rodriguez looking to enter the pitch now for Mary Washington as well. He will take the spot of Elliott Berg in that front line.
Well, played with Moises Argueda Garcia in high school, and a lot of the freshmen that are part of the new picture for Mary Washington. The blueprint definitely is looking back to the last few seasons for the success, but it's going to be a very different picture in how they do it. And I think the great coaches in the game aren't just going to stay with one system and say every single player will fit this style of play. I feel like this is definitely a feel-out situation and a feel-out game for the Eagles and trying to see what works against these tough defenses.
And you can definitely tell just the way this roster is constructed that UMW certainly has a strong pipeline in the DMV, especially in Northern Virginia. So many guys on the roster coming from places like Fredericksburg and Alexandria, and you go up to Hollywood, Maryland, and Bel Air, Maryland, and all in that DMV area. But they're still pulling guys all the way out in West Coast territory. I mean, they got Idaho on the roster.
Well, that's really the only West Coast team or West Coast state they have represented. It's kind of funny. You wonder those one or two players that come from a few time zones away and how they find this program. I think for Mary Washington, when you make the Final Four, it's a pretty good ticket to getting some out-of-state representation.
And you look at a Lynchburg squad that's got a handful of out of the U.S. representation, a whole lot of international studs on this squad. We've already talked a whole lot about Andres Romero, who comes out of
Honduras. And then even Bovo with Italy. I mean, it's not just one region.
Massonet from Spain. Set piece to the inside, athletic play from Benji Velasquez to knock it away. Now his centering feed. His shot's deflected off of Viscuso, but not the keeper Viscuso.
That's right. And that's another issue. We shouldn't say issue. It's definitely a welcome sign to have two of them on the field, but I feel like both of them are going to contribute a lot this year, too. So great to see the brothers out there at the same time.
Throw into the center of the box. Casey gets it out of trouble. Played out in front beautifully. Colby Wilson gets tangled up. I mean, he had nothing but daylight out in front of him. A whole lot of real estate.
And I think the referee wants to talk with his assistant on the side, because that's a situation where if it's one-on-one, you get a clean break. That can be a dangerous card shown.
I'll take another look at it. That was just after.
And that's so difficult because as a defender, you recognize you are that last line of defense. So you don't want to be taken out of the game, but you do got to make a play. And the coaching staff wants to see it.
Well, here's the call coming. A red card awarded. How about that? The sideline loves it on the far side of the field. That is a big-time call.
And that was one we felt like could be in the picture for Mary Washington. It's definitely a gut check. And this is that part of the game where you've got to pick your teammates up.
Bonavia, the senior out of Springfield, Virginia. He's one of their go-to guys on the defensive end. And that's a big-time call.
It sure is.
That changes the trajectory of this contest.
I was just going to say a few minutes before, it felt like Mary Washington had finally gotten comfortable just on the attacking end, trying to get a little more possession. All of a sudden, a man down, and Lynchburg can add one to the tally.
Kick push, punches it away. Bovo cannot keep it in play. He felt like he earned at least a throw-in. Nevertheless, they'll say it was last off 17 in red. I mean, Evan, obviously our opinion does not matter, but would you have given a red card in that situation?
I mean, I like it because that's an opportunity where, you know, if it is one-on-one, you make that dangerous tackle, you never know what's going to happen to that forward. And in that case, the toughest part is that Bonavia wasn't exactly the prime candidate in allowing the attack to get forward. He had to just catch up for his teammates and ultimately going to the bench as a result.
Casey kicks it back for Viscuso. Sends it sky high towards midfield. Now looking for Real Silva.
And for the time being, it looks like the Eagles are going to be stretched thin up front. You can't sacrifice a defender in this case when there's a red card. And so the question will become, how many chances can they capitalize on, especially in the second half? Because if Lynchburg keeps the possession and keeps trying to pepper this back line, it's going to be really difficult to get a one on the scoreboard.
Carson Davis checks in for the Eagles in that back line, trying to keep fresh legs there. For Lynchburg, Felipe Rodriguez comes into the middle field for the Hornets. And right now, Lynchburg, I mean, we've talked about the host of new faces that they've got this season. You have 4 freshmen on the field right now.
And you love it because, you know, this is a little bit of a new look for teams that have so much film and they have seen it in the past. You've got guys that are a fresh slate, and that's an opportunity for Lynchburg to find skill sets early in the year before conference play and see how you can utilize them.
And actually, pardon me, 3 freshmen now that Rodriguez just came in for Matthew Viscuso. But nevertheless, at one time you did have 4 freshmen out there.
And Viscuso, a guy we've mentioned already, has a goal on the year, so it's not like they've just been out there eating minutes.
Rodriguez in good positioning. Trying to find some help. Looking to feed Bovo as it knocked away. Kick push. Scoops it up off the carpet. Under 7 minutes to go in the first 45. Colby Wilson will apply some pressure. Forces it downfield. Torres gets his head on it. Now over to Vasquez. Low ball. And he's grimacing on the deck. A yellow card given out to Joseph Cruz.
Not much of an argument either, and I think he recognizes there's not much you can do to get away with that call. Stretched out wide, you're seeing Lynchburg using their different options and the speed on display as well to get to those balls first and then just force the fouls.
Yeah, just got a little tangled up right there. You can see he made clear contact with the ankle. And it's the same spot earlier where we saw Rouse hit the deck. And unsure of his status in potentially returning to this affair. And we've talked a whole lot about the depth and this Lynchburg backline, but at some point you got to wonder how deep do we really want to go?
And there are two priorities in a game like this. You definitely want to win. It's a nice one on your schedule. But health matters just that much more. And if you can get out of this game getting a win and keeping everybody healthy, it's an added bonus. But I don't think you want to sacrifice too many backline members in a game like this where, yes, it's important, but it's not affecting that ODAC standings.
And that's especially where it hurts to be a little bit banged up and not have guys like Aiden Cash, who this year stepped up and started playing more mid, but is really accustomed to playing on that back line.
And I think the Hornets have done well, especially with this coaching staff having a lot of defensive representation back from their playing days. A lot of these coaches were on the defensive side, and they know how to coach as a result of that. So sometimes maybe you start a player on the defense, then you work them up to the midfield because it's easy to preach, let's go score a goal, but the fundamentals in that back line can be a little bit tougher.
Cat and mouse in Lynchburg's defensive zone. Rolls its way over to Thomas Viscuso. Tosses it out in front for Casey. He sees daylight. Lynchburg telling him to send one downfield. He's going to gun it. Towards the baseline. It's Cruz. Lays it back. A nice little crossover to get his left foot free. Now up for Torres. Over to Vasquez, reversing the field. He's got a man on him.
How confident has Lynchburg looked in possession today? You're seeing some of those one-on-one battles.
Bovo right into the bread basket for Kickbush. Nice idea, just wrong spot.
Definitely don't think that you can feel unconfident in opportunities like that. And this coaching staff has talked about it as well, saying, you know, we don't mind these attackers getting after it, trying to get a little creative, especially with Bovo, some of the antics he has used, going to bicycle opportunities. It doesn't matter. I mean, again, we talked about it earlier. It's better him than us.
And not just one time, he went for it twice.
And the way that he does it as well is probably the most impressive because, yes, you can be close to getting the goal, but it just looks so effortless. And you see sometimes players laboring after they make that chance to get back up and get going. He doesn't miss a beat.
A nice poke from Micah Davis. He's immediately stripped on the other end. .50-50 ball for Colby Wilson. Kick back for Bovo. He's got a little bit of daylight, pumps the brakes. Other end, Cruz stops on a dime, enters the 18. Now Wilson out for Silva. Bovo, oh, thought about the bicycle, didn't he?
He was ready.
He's trying to get this student section going. Real Silva called offsides. He's been playing that line paper thin all day long, really trying to track Nathan Machik.
Tell you what, this has been such a disciplined game. Yes, there's been the red card in there, so you see that opportunity from Bovo. But looking at the stat sheet, 3 combined shots. They all belong to the Hornets so far. The offsides call, that was the first one of this match, and so both offenses have been getting after it, but you haven't necessarily seen it on the scoreboard or in those fiery chances.
It's been a pretty game thus far. I mean, and there's certainly been some physicality, but it's been a well-executed contest on both sides. From a coaching standpoint, you have to be pretty happy with how your squad's done. I mean, really the only difference maker is just Lynchburg converting on that one penalty corner. Sorry, I'm so used to field hockey.
That's right. You've been doing all the field hockey games. Well, the thing is, too, I mean, what do you change as a coach? Because you've liked what you've seen. Mary Washington tactically is going to have a man down. They got to figure out how to live with it for another 45 minutes. But the Hornets, right now in business, they got to feel comfortable with where this game is at.
And it seems like Mary Washington's best chances on offense have been in transition, but you have to wonder, after that red card, how many of those opportunities are you going to be able to find?
For sure. And the numbers, while they aren't there, they don't necessarily matter if you can get that counterattack going or quick chances. But Lynchburg has just been better in the possession game today, and that's why they're out in front.
Napier with a nice low header to feed it right to the foot of Bovo. He gives it right back. Now he crosses over looking for Real Silva. Rodriguez tracks it down, plays it off the back of his heel for Vasquez. Retreats over for Casey. Now Lynchburg finds themselves in a little bit of trouble. You got to win that foot race. And having a guy with great athleticism like Vasquez can make you have a sigh of relief at times like that.
That's where the freshmen and the newcomers come into effect, because if you haven't seen a lot of that from a film standpoint, it can catch you off guard a little bit, both on the offensive and defensive sides.
That's a great contest from Tio Rodriguez to really disrupt Lynchburg when your guard might be down a little bit when you got 2-on-1 in that situation so far back in your defensive zone.
And we talk so much about the second half, what's going to happen as a result of that man down. You just got to play smarter as well. Mary Washington, if they can find 1 or 2 chances, that might be enough to equalize.
Wilson pops it up. Vasquez flying in. Penalty called on the Mary Washington Eagles as this clock slowly starts to trickle down at 20 seconds. Rodriguez asking for some space. They're going to stop the clock and give it to him.
That's smart by the referee, because in this chance, you know, NCAA soccer doesn't exactly use that stoppage time. The clock dwindles down to 0. You would always have that one final opportunity.
This one from about 32 yards out. Rodriguez, the trigger man. Sent up to the far side post, a head on it, just over the top pipe. A beautiful set piece from the Hornets. And that will most likely bring the first 45 to a close. Lynchburg out in front by 1 goal. We're not quite out of here yet. Last minute heave, corralled by kick push. I almost got a little bit eager there, Evan.
Well, you like the clinical nature of this first half. Another set piece, another chance to convert. The Hornets have to settle for just 1 goal. But, Joe, you've loved it through 45. You feel like if the Hornets emulate that first half again, they've got a win impending.
Keaton Napier with the sole goal through the first 45. Nevertheless, it's Mary Washington playing down a man for the last 45. Stick with us when we come back. Second half of action coming your way on LHSN and FloSports.
My name is Davion Washington Jr. I have the honor of serving as the student body president. I have 5 little siblings. I'm the oldest of 6 siblings, and they look up to me. I'm setting the tone. I get to develop myself, make myself a better individual, but also I'm helping future generations, not even my family, but just future generations in general. I found my passion here. I found, the love for what I want to do. I just really had an amazing time here, and it's changed like my outlook on life. You don't have to be famous to change lives. You don't have to be on the big screen or whatever. I change lives now, and I hope to continue to do that. And just same way that the University of Lynchburg has changed my life for the better.
Think a private education is too expensive? Think again. At the University of Lynchburg, you can get a personalized education for the cost of a state school. If you're commuting and you get our top scholarships, you could pay much less. And you get all that without the hassle of giant lecture halls. Our faculty know your name here and do more than just teach. You might even do research together and plan out your next career moves.
Welcome to the Campus Recreational Department at the University of Lynchburg. We believe in a student-centered approach to recreation, making sure that all students have fun and engaging activities that promotes wellness, personal growth, and community building.
Our team works to provide a variety of recreation opportunities for all our undergrad and graduate students.
Let's take a look at the different areas of Campus Rec.
Campus Recreation covers all outdoor recreation. Our team offers dozens of trips per semester, maintains recreation facilities on campus, and offers outdoor certificates and leadership training.
Intramurals is open to all students who wants to play on a team. We have men's, women's, and co-ed leagues for each sport we offer.
Those looking for next level competition can join Club Sports. These are student-led organizations with the support of Campus Recreation. You can join one of our established Club Sports, or you can start your own with our support.
Campus Recreation offers an excellent amount of opportunities to stay active, make new friends, and develop new skills. We hope to see you soon.
Want to have some outdoor adventures while getting a degree at the same time? At the University of Lynchburg, we have an on-campus zip line and rope course. Plus, we offer adventure trips that cost less than a cup of coffee. And did I mention our beautiful scenery? We're a university for students looking for something more than just books. Welcome to your new adventure experience.
I wanted to be a physical therapist probably starting about halfway through college. I love the concept that exercise is medicine. You know, we're starting to discover that exercise really can remedy many of the things that we thought that only surgery or only drugs could remedy in the past. When the student comes here, it's because we believe in them, it's because we want them here, it's because we believe they'll be successful. The faculty here are devoted to their development, not only academically but also professionally. We're not so inundated with things that we don't have time to make students one of our highest priorities. We have your back. We're gonna help you through that. If you're willing to work, then we're willing to put the work into it and the effort to help you succeed.
Lynchburg is all about you, your ideas, and your goals. We've got one professor for every 10 students, so you can get all the support you need. In the classroom, in the lab, or in nature, you'll learn by putting yourself out there, and we're right there with you.
Be ready for anything, okay? Come on, let's go together! Together, let's go! Come on! Let's go, keep going! Hey, it's the best trip.
Straight?
Straight up, yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Good one. All right, guys, you see the meat grinder down here? Stay in the boat, let's go. Oh, what'd you think of that? Woo!
Get your career in the game by enrolling in the University of Lynchburg MBA program with an emphasis in sport management. This program opens the doors to new possibilities for a variety of careers, from being an athletic director or working in athletic administration to working for professional organizations, your favorite team, to running a local Parks and Rec department. And employers are increasingly requesting and preferring individuals who have postgraduate education, specifically looking for an MBA. And so the University of Lynchburg Sport Management concentration in the MBA program sets you up for success, and it sets you apart from the many other people looking for jobs in the industry. Learn from winners. Here you will learn from professors and mentors who have spent their careers doing exactly what you want to do. Increase your marketability in an $83 billion industry. If you have a 3.0 GPA, the GMAT is waived. There's no application fee, admissions occurs on a rolling basis, and our online program is ideal for working adults. When you enroll in this program, you enroll in the opportunity to learn from the best of the best. Your professors have a wealth of experience working in the sport industry that they share with you in the classroom setting. Get in the game by getting your MBA with a sport management concentration at the University of Lynchburg. Just you know, Hollywood, here I come. Hey, I meant, yeah.
Either. The real Lindsay Piper's here.
Autographs there later. Let's.
Every great college has a great city. For Lynchburg, we are near urban areas with lots of restaurants, shopping, and events. Plus, we are one of the top schools in the area. Come see for yourself.
Every great idea begins with a sketch, a doodle on a napkin, a quiet spark of change before the world even knows it's listening. Sometimes with faith, sometimes with fire, sometimes with nothing but each other and a box of cheap pizza, but always, always chasing something greater. Some of us climbed out of concrete, others were replanted in better soil, but a seed isn't a legacy until it bears fruit. And this is an orchard built from service, sweat, and self-discovery. You see, back in 1903, a group of first-generation minds gathered not just to learn, but to rewrite the script entirely. They didn't just attend college, they built one. From the red clay of Virginia, they laid bricks of boldness and mortar made from mission. Here in Lynchburg, the caged birds don't just sing, they soar. Because at Lynchburg, they were finally seen. You walk the same path that Nobel Peace Prize winners, marathon trailblazers, delegates, senators, artists, those who turn glass ceilings into floors and dared to dance on top of them. These halls don't whisper history, they howl it. A trademark of this place is self-expression. Not forced, not filtered, not a facade. We don't shape students into copies. We help you find your own voice, unapologetically, authentically. Because to be a Hornet is to think differently, is to think independently, to challenge curiosity, to question with care today. Right now, the Hive is alive. Classrooms buzz with conversation, the Dell hums with energy.
And we welcome you back into the Hill City through 45. It's Lynchburg out in front. It was a solo goal off a corner kick from Keaton Napier. That's been the big difference maker. But on top of that, you had a red card given out to Bonariva for the Mary Washington Eagles, and that feels like it can really change the complexion of this contest. But it's a Mary Washington team that started to find some momentum towards the back half of that opening 45 minutes. I'll try and see if they can capitalize on it here in the second half. Joe Brennan, Evan Gates. It's been a fun one thus far. This one really, if you just look at it on paper, it's been all Lynchburg.
For sure, and obviously it starts with getting a shot for Mary Washington, but we barely recognized it in that first 45 minutes because it's been such a tight game played in that midfield. You've seen possession sway Lynchburg's way, and the Hornets do have the goal, but for the Eagles, Joe, it feels like these first 10 minutes are going to be imperative. Can they get out and get the energy on their side? Because in a code red affair, it's really tough to swing it in the last 15 or so minutes.
Yeah, you can feel how the atmosphere has really played into this contest. It has been intense both on and off the pitch here on Schellenberger Field.
And a red card is one of those situations where it's going to get the crowd involved even more because the students were already vocal. That happens, and Mary Washington, after that halftime huddle, is going to have to figure out what does that formation look like. Are you going to send numbers forward and play the risk game? Because you need the goal, but you also got to be careful.
We did see Reed Rouse exit the contest about 15 or 20 minutes in after he took a hard tumble. He is back on the pitch for the Hornets, which is a great sign. But you did get some good minutes from the freshman Vasquez, who really stepped in without missing a beat.
You never know when you're going to get that window of opportunity, and to do it in a big game, that really helps. Now that Rouse is back out there, that veteran back line that we've talked about is all in shape, and they're ready to go.
And it felt like Mary Washington really played true to their starting lineup, especially on that front line. We did see a couple of substitutions, but most of them were on the defensive side. Meanwhile, for Lynchburg, I mean, you saw a whole host of faces.
And the depth that Lynchburg does have with people getting healthy again has been on full display. Now for the Eagles, when you look at their attack, number 2 and number 3, Amoros and Berg, how do they factor into the picture? Because it felt like they were going quietly in those first 45 minutes.
They definitely showed some aggressiveness early on, but that started to teeter off when they lost that strength in numbers. You got to wonder how that's going to play into effect here in the second half as Andres Romero looking to split 2, uncorks a shot just off the mark.
I mean, this is one of the quicker players that we've seen on Schellenberger in a long time. He got references to Monzi Shalita from the coaching staff and how he can create in those opportunities. But as he gets outside, he still looks so controlled.
I mean, this coaching staff said Andres Romero could quite possibly be the best-looking freshman they've seen since Luke Mega, which is a very nice compliment comparing you to a 3-time All-American.
I mean, it's a tall task to even be in the same zip code, but what he has proven, and not just that hat trick in the last game, but the composure in his first few matches as a Hornet, it has looked very sharp.
Lynchburg 3-on-3. Wiley carving his way inside. Andres Romero sends it sky high over the top pipe and looks at it in disbelief.
He loves going with his right foot, and sometimes you'll see it even from an untraditional standpoint. He gets middle of the field. That is a golden opportunity, just a little too much pepper on it.
Kick push towards the near side of the field. Still in the air. Whistle called on Viscusa as you take another look at the opportunity for Andres Romero.
The velocity that he can generate is also going to be stifling for opposing keepers because you see he's quick with his feet, but also to get that ball off in a hurry, sometimes that can be really tough to judge.
These are two teams that are really still starting to find their identity. And by committee, as you mentioned earlier, has been the main process for Lynchburg offensively thus far this season. Granted, you've got guys like Bovo and Andres Romero that really lead that chart, but how much can you really weigh that region game in the whole mix when it really felt like the Oprah Winfrey Show where everybody gets a goal?
For sure, and the players see that as well. They know that it's definitely a confidence booster, but you got to make sure you're staying true to those fundamentals. And 3 newcomers before that match had gotten a goal or an assist. You hope to keep that going.
Kicked out of trouble. By the young Viscusa. We apologize for technical difficulties with the scoreboard. We'll keep you updated and get that fixed as soon as possible. 41-10 and ticking down, and there you get it. Shout out to our director and producer, Ethan Morotsky, being right on top of everything. Corner kick to the top of the box. Looking for some space. Benji Velasquez has other ideas. Lynchburg was looking for the counterattack, but miscommunication between 2 red jerseys gives Mary Washington the ball right back deep in Lynchburg territory.
I mean, Joe, that might have been 5-on-2 if they got out on the break. They have another chance here, but you're just seeing that composure. They're going to value possession over getting out on the break, especially with the lead.
Wiley lays it back for Viscuso. Redirects. Torres wants to go. For Daniel. Fisher Daniel had it ripped away. Lynchburg thought the ball should stay on this side of the field. The official saw it differently. Mary Washington will march forward. And kick push will put us back in play.
Joe, you wonder what the stat we explored earlier, how 11 of those 12 key contributors from last year are graduated and off this roster. Mary Washington can look at it both ways. You know, in this second half, maybe it's good to have guys who haven't been in these pressure situations before and try to grow them, but also who's going to be that key contributor, Mr. Reliable, when you need it the most.
But this is a program also that, under the helm of Jason Kilby, has really grown accustomed to reloading rather than rebuilding. And you don't get that 3 consecutive Sweet 16 appearances, 3 consecutive conference championships without building that kind of foundation with a program where you're accustomed to losing talented players and developing really that next wave of Eagles.
And the thing is, the Eagles haven't had a losing season under Coach Kilby. This is his 15th year, and so even in those quote-unquote down years, you're still seeing competitive squads, and that means every single player is still bought in. You're not having a roster or a recruiting class that comes in and has to just reconstruct.
They have faced a new kind of adversity that they have not experienced in a very long time, with starting the season ranked in the top 10, a place that they're quite accustomed to being. And then after that initial loss earlier this season, dropped all the way down to 24. It's a team that hadn't been out of the top 10 in over 1,000 days. I know you're not much of a mathematician, but that's almost 3 years.
That sticks out. And tell you what, this squad, they understand that that's what's going to happen. The expectations are lofty this year, and all of a sudden you just got to find where your place in the universe is. You don't have to be that top 25 squad now if you're trending in that direction by the end of the year.
Well, they did fall out of the national rankings overall after their pair of losses to Hampton-Sydney and Washington College of Maryland. They're now receiving votes. Still in the top 30 if you want to count those receiving votes. And still a very talented squad with a whole lot of respect in the national landscape. But they have to really stack up some wins against challenging opponents. And they've already had their battles this far with a lot of strong opponents. We talked about that win over Washington and Lee really sticking out this far, who came in this year ranked 4th in the nation after their Sweet 16, or pardon me, after their Final Four appearance a year ago.
Think about it for Mary Washington, too. I think winning the conference might be a little more attainable than Lynchburg's path because the ODAC is so stacked this year. Those teams near the middle of the table are just getting better and better. That coast-to-coast conference has been won by the Eagles the last 3 seasons, and we know a lot of players graduated, but it is still an opportunity to go out and wrinkle the picture a little bit.
And a small conference, but a talented conference nonetheless, as you take another look at the physical play that we've seen thus far. A lot of bodies that have been hitting the turf. But you've got a small conference with schools like Mary Washington and Salisbury and CNU that can all very well be tournament teams.
For sure, and this year, more than any, we've seen the Salisbury team have a really good battle against Lynchburg early in the year. And those local squads, or at least bordering states, they provide a lot of competition. You like to see them early. But for Mary Washington, that conference slate isn't getting any easier. You want to take advantage of the opportunity with a small conference, but a lot of room to go.
Wiley trying to get away with a little hand on the back. Earns the whistle. And right now, it feels like the ODAC, out of any year in the last decade, is more so up for grabs than anybody not named Lynchburg and Washington and Lee. You have a Hornet squad, once again, we keep reiterating it, but it's so early in the season. Nevertheless, you have Lynchburg that right now checks in at 7th overall in the region rankings, with schools like Hampton-Sydney and Virginia Wesleyan atop of them.
It's incredible. The fact that you look at the preseason poll, and Washington and Lee and Lynchburg were dead even, 6 votes apiece for that first place position. And I think that kind of tells you what the picture looks like. There's no dominant force, but there's also not exactly a poor team that you can count on getting wins against. It's just going to be everybody clashing near the middle. That's why you got to handle business here in September, because the second that you turn the calendar, you know it's going to be up for grabs.
What a slide right there from Andres Romero. You could see the intensity that this guy brings to the pitch.
You love those fights in the midfield, those 50-50 balls. You got to be very smart about when to make those tackles. And Mary Washington slowly eating away at possession. I think Lynchburg is content playing back a little bit, but the Eagles also recognize that they're going to have to generate that chance.
There'll be a throw in at midfield on the near sideline. That clock under 35 to go. Ever since the first 10 minutes, this has been a defensive battle. No side pulling away quite yet.
Lynchburg already adding 2 to the tally in the shots category. Mary Washington still searches for their first.
A quiet day for Thomas Viscuso between the pipes. Has yet to been tested, as you mentioned, but a guy that you feel really confident no matter when he'll see something head his way. You have a lot of belief in him. Low kick. Corralled by Mary Washington. Lynchburg applying a whole lot of pressure. Cleared out of trouble by Kickbush. Now here comes the attack. A lot of speed on that far sideline from Lynchburg.
That's where having an extra man on the field really helps. You can take those risks and still get back.
A whistle before the cross. A lot of hands on head in the Mary Washington sideline. I don't know if they agreed with that call, Evan.
I think more so just to have that chance in front of them, that really hurts because now you're slowing the game down a little bit. Lynchburg gets to take over and boot it down the field to an offense that has possessed very well to start the second half.
The passing has looked impressively crisp on Lynchburg's side today. They have showcased a lot of excellent ball movement. It just really hasn't converted into an extraordinary amount of goals.
I'm glad something's crisp out here because it's been 80 degrees and, they flirted with us a little bit, giving us 70s at one point. Not anymore.
I mean, we get to November on this field, I think you're going to feel a little bit differently about it.
Yeah, I will. I guarantee you. We'll walk in, it'll be 40 degrees. I'll be saying, can we just have summer back?
Long throw in down the sideline. Played well by Mary Washington to keep marching forward. Forward for Daniel.
Joe, you got to think about early in the year. It doesn't feel like Lynchburg has been trying to play spoiler at any point in these early games. They belong in every fight.
Andres Romero earns a corner kick. Yeah, that's exactly right, Evan.
So many times you look at the NCAA tournament and games where these teams have been top 8, top 10. Think about that Dickinson game last year. If Lynchburg can just get close to being in that picture in the rankings and handling business here, you feel like there's a really clear path to this postseason.
Rodriguez will be the trigger man from the near side corner. Middle of the box, popped up over the top post. And a whistle on the Eagles. Or rather, last touch by the Eagles will allow Rodriguez to head the other way and try it once more.
You don't always see the same guy take corners from either side because it can swing a little bit differently from a lefty or righty kicker. And I think after that one, putting it right in the mix, you like what you see.
This time goes near side. Casey gets a head on it but sends it right back to Rodriguez. Pops it up. Far side. Viscuso with the handle. Drops it off. Andres Romero. He's got some space. Uncorks it. What a save by Kickbush. Nevertheless, Lynchburg controls the rebound. Back for Viscuso. Once more, Andres Romero. Doing some dancing. Back over for Viscuso. He'll let one go into the 18. Missed it high.
Well, Kickbush was ready to dust the bottom shelf on that opportunity because Lynchburg just finding new angles. And the way this play develops, it is a little back heel and it's nifty, but it starts with the speed of Romero trying to file it in on that near pipe. Just misses, and Kickbush doing everything he can to keep it a one-goal lead.
Able to show off the wheels and get around the freshman Carson Davis, actually a Lynchburg, Virginia native. That's got to be a special moment coming back to your hometown and playing.
Well, what's funny enough is he didn't go to high school in Lynchburg. If you look down the roster, he was a Cosby High School graduate. That's out in the eastern direction. And, we've seen a lot of Lynchburg natives come back to Schellenberger Field. You wonder how long he spent in the Hill City.
Cosby High School right outside Richmond. Handful of Hornets coming from that direction.
See, being a Roanoke native, anything east of, we'll just say Lynchburg, I'm going to let you handle.
We did see a substitution for Mary Washington. Landreth returned to the contest. Wiley, a long shot, well too high. Lynchburg really starting to rack up these shots, just not quite on goal. We talked about him earlier, the Idaho native, Heineman, checks in.
I love these shots that Lynchburg is taking because, in a way it changes the eye level of a goalkeeper. You don't always make that reference in soccer, but you're just seeing that the Hornets aren't afraid. And I think in that case for Wiley, if you try to make that pass, it just slows things down and everybody catches up. So why not try to fire one while everyone is retreating?
And while it does feel like Lynchburg has controlled here in the early stages of the second half, you do have to tip your cap to Mary Washington for staying in this contest when it really felt like Lynchburg was in control, gaining a lot of momentum, and just like that, they got an extra man.
Still don't have a shot either, but it does feel like they are that one goal away from being right back. And I think Lynchburg has definitely kept everything composed, but the Eagles don't feel like they're out of it.
I mean, you let them hang around and hang around and hang around, that could come back to get you.
Goes back to what you were saying about last year. Lynchburg only needs one, and this is the prime example and the test of if that team from last year with a back line that was nationally acclaimed can do the exact same.
Crusoe with a pump fake. Now will direct traffic. Lays it down. Boot it over to Torres. Now Velasquez with the handle. Near sideline. Long kick out in front, trying to find Daniel. Wiley prevents the clearance. Andres Romero now. Out of bounds, and Lynchburg will have a throw in deep in Mary Washington territory.
You can tell how quickly these sequences are developing because the goalkeeper was so far outside of the box in that case where if you just have a clearance that isn't to full strength, you might have to pay the price, and Lynchburg marching right back down the field.
Velasquez with the throw-in. Nothing there. Some speed. Tangled up. There's the go-to man on offense. Amarose has been kept relatively quiet today. As now Berg returns to this sideline. Stoltz will take his spot. Stoltz listed as a goalkeeper. We're seeing 31 going in for him. As you see the collision. Oh, pardon me, I'm misreading digits. That's Daniel Calderon, a freshman out of Haymarket, Virginia, that takes the spot of Elliott Berg. Ain't nothing's a surprise. Berg listed as a defender. He's been playing forward all day.
That's right, pretty much all season. And, for freshmen as well, it's going to be tough to go after that goalkeeping position, especially with a starter who's been there for so long. But you never know when you're going to get a newcomer who you see fit in a better position. You got to try and plug him in now.
I mean, that's what we saw with Aiden Cass this year.
For sure.
Who moved up. Wiley will head to the sideline and take a breather for the Hornets. And his spot, Isaac Cruz. What do the Eagles have in store on this set piece? And how about the coaching right there? You had Hinkle on the sideline telling Andres Romero to go to that exact spot where the ball ended up landing. I mean, that is pure film study from the Lynchburg coaching staff.
I mean, you get some of these folks who have been around the game for so long, but it's that playing and coaching mentality where, as a player, you already know we talked about Evan Pask going out there trying to direct his teammates when he was injured, but you also have these guys who just have seen it time and time again. It helps to have them on your side.
Andres Romero earns the whistle while he was sitting on his wallet.
The greatest coaching battles is when, maybe the other coach overhears something you're saying and they can throw it and change it mid-play.
Daniel trying to earn the edge into the outer portion of the netting. Once again, another shot we've seen from Lynchburg, just can't quite put it on the mark. But you gotta like the aggressiveness that you've seen from the Hornets in this second half if you're Yeager and company. Played back for Kickbush. Towards midfield on one hop. Benji heads. Amarose stops on a dime, cuts toward midfield, and runs into Viscuso. A nice touch to poke it free. Now it's Struman. Cruz. Surveying. Charging. Losing possession. Ran into a swarm of Eagles. Went right into the nest. A nice interception from Rouse. Gets it right back. Rouse lets it go. Kick Bush with a kick save.
Mary Washington just looking so disjointed in that minute sequence. It starts on the touchline trying to keep the ball in, but it falls right to Cruz in transition. And the Hornets unable to capitalize that time, but I like Reed Rouse advancing. He is proving he's not afraid to get up there with the attackers and take a chance as Kickbush defending everything low to the turf today.
A trio of substitutions for Lynchburg's corner kick. Bovo, Wilson, and Napier. In the corner, far post. Oh, William Casey was right there. Couldn't time it up exactly how he wanted to. He's someone that can be very explosive on those corner kicks. We saw him score against Emory in the NCAA tournament first round on a set piece very similar to that one. Velasquez now, the throw-in. Right back over for Casey. Can't put the hammer on the nail. Bovo with a physical play on the baseline. Lost it momentarily and results in a Lynchburg turnover. Kickbush with another goal kick.
Well, for Casey, he's one of those taller and stronger men in the box. You got to recognize where he's at if you're an offense and if you're the defense. That time, like you said, right off the mark.
At the midway mark now here in half number 2. Torres knocks it out of play.
I don't think it's a coincidence it happens on a corner either, because that first goal does come courtesy of what was a very nicely sailed ball into the box. And if Lynchburg can just slow this game down in the last 20 minutes and continue to corral those corners and free kicks, that's probably the worst nightmare for the Eagles.
Freshman for each side checks in. Real Silva for the Hornets. Rodriguez now in for Mary Washington. And slowing the tempo is exactly playing to your style if you're Lynchburg right now. And on a night where you haven't allowed Mary Washington to get a quality look off through 3/4 of this affair, you seem pretty content rolling with that tempo for the remainder.
Just don't want to get caught napping at this point. You know, you have 22 and a half minutes to play in that final, the fourth quarter of this match, and you have played a masterful performance so far, but it takes one slip up to see a tie on the scoreboard. You don't want it to happen, as you have really painted a nice picture so far.
How about the hands coming from the sideline?
Doesn't matter who. You got about 500 faces watching it.
Escuso might be holding his breath. He might have a new guy coming in for
Wait
tryouts.
a second. Tell you, the way Lynchburg's playing and being unbeaten so far in the season, I don't think they're going to need tryouts at this stage of the year, but it goes back to the depth question. If you can keep people healthy, that's the first box you got to check. But will there be any changes in this starting lineup? Because already in the season there's been some consistency, and it has looked very sharp.
Yeah, and you missed a handful of guys, as we mentioned. Oh, more physical play. Napier just got ran over. It was Daniel Calderon. Steamrolled him into the deck. But, yeah, I mean, 8 guys out of action last week in Maryland. You really got to see some of the different lineups that Lynchburg can sport and the depth that they really can bring.
Still 7 players who had started every match, too. So, yes, there are those changes, and a lot of guys have filled those roles that have been vacant, but the others have been staples in the lineup.
And most of which are on that back line. I mean, it's Rouse, it's Velasquez, it's Casey, it's Viscuso. There's another big-time stop from Kickbush. A whistle blown before the second attempt off the right foot of Rouse.
Man, Kickbush in this game definitely earning his keep, and that is an opportunity for Lynchburg that they're not going to like with the whistle having been blown, but you're just seeing the confidence as they march down the field. They get to that 18-yard box. They're going to make sure they at least get an opportunity, a shot taken, and that's where Mary Washington has fallen short.
Right now in danger of being shut out for the 3rd time this season. Happened against Barry and Hampton-Sydney. A tall task against this Lynchburg defense as Marcos Gallegos checks in. Under 19 to go.
See some of the fans having fun, you know. I mean, with everything, you get rowdy at a Code Red game. I don't know if we want to name drop or not, but you know the guys who are always there front row for Code Red games, you feel like that's your 12th man on the field right there.
They're certainly having some fun out there tonight. And they'll have more fun on Friday. Second Code Red on deck in Turner Gymnasium. Women's volleyball plays host to Bridgewater, which will really be a big-time match. That's a Lynchburg team that's off to their best start in program history, 10-1. Coming into tonight, just played Randolph this evening. I'm not sure how that one resulted, but most likely continuing to add. And they'll play Bridgewater and then followed by Washington and Lee the very next day. That'll be something else.
I mean, that's a weekend for this team, and they know that they want to go and get those games. But I want to see a stat of when the last time was we had 2 Code Reds in the same week.
It's a treat.
To get it this early in the year, you'll take it.
Play downfield. Kickbush has a beat on it. Lets it drop inside the box before he scoops it up.
Got to be careful in that spot, because if you bobble retreating, then all of a sudden it is an empty goal.
You got to have some safety gloves on there on the hands team. And what's so fascinating is I don't think this was initially supposed to be the Code Red game. So it got shuffled around a little bit. But I think this is, oh my goodness, Chris Bovo having some fun.
That was poetic. That's what that was. But like you said, it's been a treat so far. Lynchburg has played the performance they wanted to have, and, you know, it doesn't matter where it's at on your schedule. A lot of teams want to have that emotionally charged game. You go in against a rival. I think this is more of this coaching staff recognizing there's another very disciplined team on the other side. You want to win this game, let's get started on the right foot rather than trying to play catch-up in October.
And more times than not, you see these Code Red games in a big-time matchup where maybe you want a little bit of that extra edge and you're relying on what you described as that 12th man to really bring that extra level of intensity and sometimes give you a significant chance.
And there are only 7 home games at Shelley for this men's team, but you know you're going to get a big fan base for a lot of these other ones.
Here's good movement. Another shot off the left foot of Cruz, who trots away in frustration as Kickbush reels in another save.
I mean, Joe, think about it. If W&L marches into Schellenberger Field, I don't know many fans are going to say, I think I'll pass on today, unless it's code red. And so to get it early in the year, the second home game for this Hornets squad, it just feels very timely.
And on a Wednesday night, too, you just get that extra level. Most of the time, people are at home doing homework.
For sure.
That'll be a whistle. Yellow card awarded. It looks to be like Mason Landreth, a sophomore midfielder.
Maybe a little extra advertising for this Lynchburg team as they go straight down to the turf and just try to hold on to the ball. But I think with that type of contact in that position, you recognize you're getting the free kick if you're Isaac Cruz, and it's in a beautiful spot for the Hornets.
Isaac Cruz, a freshman midfielder out of Harrisonburg, Virginia, just outside the 18. Cruz has it sent back by the wall. Now Napier with the recovery. Over to Real Silva. And turned over by Lynchburg.
Looked to be offsides unless there was a foul that was called. That one is tight because Lynchburg wanted to play quickly, trying to insert again.
Bovo has done such a great job creating space and finding openings, and it doesn't look like there's anything there tonight. Bovo with a quick touch. Cruz out and running. Left his man in the dust. Cruz across the top of the box. Oh! Just outside. Wide left.
Clap of the hands from Falani Malachua on the sideline. He thought that was the one to put Lynchburg up by a brace, and you can see the Hornets getting more and more confident. There have been a lot of sequences like this one where it starts from the outside and Cruz missing just by a hair.
I feel like Kickbush might have got a fingertip on that one to redirect it. If he did or if he didn't, either way, he has been unbelievable tonight between the pipes for the Eagles.
And there haven't been as many big-time saves or something that's extracurricular out of the ordinary. He's just been consistent, and that's what this Mary Washington team needed. You know, we've seen more of those big saves here in the second half where Lynchburg has posed some more questions. But now Mary Washington sees it, and it is in 4K. If you don't get a goal, or especially if you let Lynchburg get theirs, this game is quickly creeping to the finish line.
Under 15 to go. Viscuso over for Napier at midfield. Now at the Lynchburg script. Rouse. Right back to him. Rouse far side of the field. Low ball that's popped up. Viscuso tracks it down. Tries to push it out in front for Real Silva. Can't get a touch. But a throw-in awaiting for Benji Velasquez. 10 shots to 1.
It's exactly what this team wants, as opponents are averaging just 5.5. This is going to put that stat even further south.
Ahead on it. Just over the top pipe. Once again, it was Keaton Napier. You think he could be this year's Zach Whelan? That big body on the inside.
I was just going to say, you always find one or two guys that you just know if they're around the ball and it's a corner opportunity, they're going to be right in the picture. I think that Napier sees that opening, but today it's just been some friendly bounces as well.
Fisher Daniel collects, stops, swings, intercepted. Here come the Eagles in the other direction.
Maybe biggest chance of the second half.
This is where you really want to find something. And William Casey just shut it down. He just put Amorose, one of the best forwards in all Division III soccer, into a straitjacket.
I mean, you can't even go and grab the extinguisher because the play is already ended. You see Casey, who goes out wide. He's trying to push those attackers to less vulnerable spots of the field, and Lynchburg's back line, just another masterclass.
Andres Romero, a nice touch to keep it alive. A whistle blown dead. A throw in for Mary Washington at midfield. Quick toss over to Hoskins. Now back for Davis. Davis downfield. Casey with a head on it. And out of play deep in Mary Washington territory. Near side. Daniel applying a whole lot of pressure on that ride. Batted around. Controlled by Machek. Sent the other way by Velasquez. Daniel out in front. Nobody ahead of him other than Kickbush. Pops it up, still in trouble. That was a dangerous sequence for the Eagles. You almost felt like the nail was about to go in the coffin. That's a great seal by Hoskins. Not allowing Andres Romero to get out in front.
And this is the problem for Mary Washington. The Hornets have just continued to attack. And when you get possession, it's out beyond the touchline for a throw. That has just been this defense coming together for the Hornets and turning it into quick transition.
Amorose pushed out of play. Teammate on the sideline gets him back up to his feet as he gives the official a look and some words. And there was a lot of pushing and shoving with him and Velasquez on that near sideline. You wonder if maybe he deserved a call right there.
Well, you think when you fall on the track and not the turf, that one leaves a little more of a mark. Maybe the reason he's saying something.
Amorose to the inside, easily grabbed by Viscuso. Thomas Viscuso now will burn a little bit of clock as he directs traffic. He's had a couple of pump fakes tonight.
You wonder if that's something he has learned in the summer, too, because Coach Yeager talked about Viscuso and said, you know, he has improved a lot from those summer performances, always growing and evolving, but you also know that when you play with a new bunch of players, you just see different things.
And also got the privilege of playing under Liberty University's goalkeeping coach. It was the head coach for Lynchburg FC over the summer, and he really raved about the ability to learn from a Division I veteran, experienced goalkeeper coach.
And having it right down the road, because not every D3 school is just right in the shadow of a Division I program. And for Liberty being right down the road about 10 minutes, you're playing with a lot of talent that's around the area, and it's been a big-time performance for him to start the year.
And that's not supposed to be any shade thrown in any way, shape, or form at Michael Relaford, who is one of the, if not the greatest goalies in Lynchburg program
Absolutely.
history who really leads that charge from a day-to-day basis here with the Hornets. But it's rather just a different perspective, teaching different skills that Viscuso hadn't necessarily had during his high school and collegiate tenure here at Lynchburg. And you just add those extra wrinkles in, and it can really help evolve and develop players.
You know, getting one skill set or one strategy from one man is really tough. And even if Lionel Messi was your coach on the soccer pitch, you want to get 3 or 4 portfolios of how to put it all together. And this combination, as Relaford's really been crucial for the program here in the last year and a half, you're starting to see it.
All right, let's not get greedy. If you're getting Messi, I don't know how many other calls you're making.
Yeah, you might be fine. Well, we'll say, you know, anybody but.
Through ball delivered from Lopez Correas. Lopez Correas gets it right back. A quick touch. Deflected by Kickbush. Andres Romero couldn't keep it in play.
Joe, I was going to mention it felt like it was a touch too many for Evan Pask on that far side, but it turned out to work out very nicely because when he redirected, they were wide open in the box.
And once again, it's another one of these new face freshmen that's making an impact on the offensive end. Well, that one doesn't go in against Kickbush. There's a lot of keepers at this level that one's going to sneak past them. Kickbush has really proven to be one of the premier keepers, not just in his conference, but really in the national landscape. He has put on an excellent performance tonight. And we mentioned it, a guy that's filling the shoes of an All-American keeper who has been continually tested tonight as he adds another save to his tally.
And 9 goals allowed in 6 games is so misleading because of the competition they've played. You and I have both talked about it at length. I mean, you can't overstate it's a young crew against competition maybe tougher from the last few years.
You've played 3 teams that are either receiving votes or in the national landscape. That's half your games thus far. And in the other ones, they haven't really been scored on a whole lot.
Not at all.
That Washington College one was really the only one that sticks out. And it was a game where they were leading handedly 2-0 through the first 50 minutes, and then things just got away from them. And Washington College got hot. You had a man finish with a hat trick alone in the second half.
It's so uncharacteristic, too, because Mary Washington has started matches very well. But in that game, you get outshot 19-11. The shots on goal tally pretty similar to today. Doesn't accelerate in a hurry, and it just felt like the longer in that second half that they started falling behind, it was a tough climb.
I mean, if there's any takeaway from today, it's got to be the stout nature of this Lynchburg defense that has shined here at home. Obviously, the fans got a look at it against Region in your last game, but this is a very different level of play against a Mary Washington team that, you know, has had national championship aspirations the last couple of seasons. Nevertheless, do you feel like there's somewhat of an asterisk next to it when you're playing 11 on 10?
You know, it's tough because I think Lynchburg definitely earned their opportunities, and this back line isn't going to get any shade because this team was a man up today, but still got to get to the finish line.
Niscuso watches this shot sail over the top pipe. Elliott Berg pounds the pitch.
Let's just put it this way. How many matches have we seen an opposing squad get a red card versus how many times has Lynchburg gotten a shutout? You're going to see that shutout more often than not. I just think when that red card happened, it was more of improving the momentum, not regathering it.
Laid out in front. Another chance for the Hornets. Oh, Viscuso's right there. Ball went right past Cruz. That's when you feel like he could have had and capitalized on. It's those small things. They've had the positioning, they've had the opportunities, This does not feel like a 1-0 affair right now.
Does not, and this coaching staff has just continued to stay adamant about how whether it's 10 guys scoring 1 goal or it's one person at the top that spearheads this approach, I mean, you just got to hit the back of the net.
Cruz takes a tumble. The officials let him play on. Now you're really getting to crunch time for Mary Washington. You'll have a good chance right here. Yeager having some words with the officiating crew. Just over 4.5 to go. Lynchburg trying to hold on. Vasquez out in front. Pair of substitutions will come in for the Hornets.
Once again, the speed of Lynchburg has just generated so many opportunities in this match. You're starting to see it come together because along that touch line, when the longer Mary Washington has stayed out wide, their chances have really dwindled.
Viscuso towards midfield. Played back and forth. Into the stands and a throw in here for the Eagles. Under 4 minutes to go. Casey says no. Back towards midfield. And the clearance by Lynchburg. Kick Bush with a chip over Colby Wilson. You got to be really meticulous now if you're Mary Washington. Every second crucial to try and avoid your 4th loss of the season.
And this back line knows how to turn the game off. They've been so good down the stretch. Last year only allowed 2 goals in 3 different games, so they have been involved in these low-scoring affairs before. Now it's just a matter of bleeding out the clock.
Got to play smart ball now if you're Lynchburg. Try and burn as much time as you can. Just over 2.5 remaining. Bovo. Oh my goodness, Houdini. Out in front, Colby Wilson right on the doorstep. Almost had the best look of the day, but it was Nathan Machek once again getting in the mix. He's been pivotal for them on the back line ever since Bonarivia checked out.
How about 2 for the price of 1 for Bovo as well? We talked about his confidence. It extends beyond the goal scoring. It's also in his touches, just looking very fluid.
Yeah, he's got some swagger to him.
Got to have that as an attack-minded player, someone who wants to go out there and get the numbers.
Amorose working against Vasquez. Knocked it away, then was ripped down to the pitch. I mean, there you see a big-time play made by a freshman defender. And you start to understand why this coaching staff raves so much about him. Viscuso flies in for the save. Take another look at Bovo's creativity on display. Woo!
said poetic earlier. I think we got to get the thesaurus out and do a word better than that, because Bovo and those opportunities when he is one-on-one, we've raved about with everybody on this team. When they get that isolation, they are so good about staying poised.
Wilson off his heel. Cruz got bodied. And he feels like he should have had a call there, but in reality, that's one where you can avoid that. Just having a clean touch off the pass. Trying to burn some time in the corner. And that will all but do it. That clock continues to trickle down, and Lynchburg will walk away with a 1-0 victory, taking down a Mary Washington squad that has been caught on a 3-game losing skid. And we've got a little bit of pushing and shoving going on. You don't want to see that, but this was a game riddled with intensity. And you can oftentimes get caught up in the emotion.
And we only get so much of it from up here in the booth, but down on the field, a little bit of a party in the student section, because they worked just as hard as this team did through 90 minutes to make it happen. And Mary Washington, a team that, as we mentioned, will have a lot of discipline. They're trying to make sure that they can extend those postseason aspirations, but fall short again today. Lynchburg just the better team, and in what felt like every aspect, and a step forward in this game.
And it really did feel like that red card just kind of killed all the momentum that the Eagles had towards the latter stages of that first half. Nevertheless, you can't imagine that this is going to be a team out of the mix come November. You got to feel like eventually this group is going to gel and find their chemistry and really create some havoc towards the end of the year.
Well, there was a lot to like from this Mary Washington squad, but I'm going to steal a term from Teddy Atlas. Felt like they were a day late, a dollar short in this one. And Lynchburg, especially in that first half, not even allowing a shot, was winning every category in the 50-50s. That's why they get this win. You can look at it and say, oh, it was just one goal off a corner kick, but it was a very technical approach today, and Lynchburg's going to feel happy about it.
Nevertheless, that'll all but do it here from the Hill City. The first Code Red of the season ends in a Hornet victory via a header coming from Keaton Napier and a flawless performance from this Lynchburg back line to post yet another shutout here on Schellenberger Field. That'll conclude our broadcast here in the press box. We thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, have a good one.